All right. Well, thank you for joining, everyone. I appreciate everyone being here. My name is Erik Bermudez, and we have an awesome podcast for you this morning here at Lex Summit 2025. We have Gabe Stiritz from Lexamica and Glen Lerner from Lerner and Rowe with us. In fact, Gabe, Glenn, do you want to take a moment, introduce yourselves on the podcast here?
All right, I'll go first because everyone knows Glenn already. But I'm the CEO and founder of Lexamica, a referral platform that works with lawyers in single event, mass tort, and other contingency practice areas to bring transparency and accountability to the co-counsel referral process. Really excited to be here. Big fans of Filevine, and just really cool to come back to the first legal tech conference I was ever at, which was the Filevine show here 4 years ago in the Grand American Hotel.
That's right.
I'm Glen Lerner, the owner of Lerner and Rowe. We have offices around the country. I've been practicing. I'm in my 35th year now. Got involved with Gabe and Lexamica a few years ago. One of the finest people I've ever met, and just a super exciting technology and proof that you can teach an old dog new tricks.
Well, thank you, too, for being here. It's awesome that you are here at Lex Summit. Well, let's go ahead and kick things off. I really want to dive into today's market, because I think today's market, the dynamics of the market, I think it puts now more than ever a certain emphasis on referrals specifically. And so just kind of give me a readout of the market and why some firms decide, well, referrals maybe aren't so important, which those are sometimes still out there, and then others that really lean heavily, and why the market's demanding referrals to have such a focus. Gabe, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. It's something that I've actually been thinking about over the past couple of weeks, which is, I think historically, referrals have been a much smaller part of the practice than they are today. And I think that the percentage of the market that is referrals is growing year over year. And as I talk to people who are both running large firms like Glen's or who are actually starting referral firms, I think referrals are becoming a more and more significant piece of the overall industry. Something that Glenn, you and I haven't even talked about this before. If you go back 20 years, how much were people doing referrals? Was that something, or you said that you're 35 years in practice. What did that look like in the year 2000? Were there referrals?
Certainly there were referrals. You were referring cases to, obviously if it was not an area that you specialized in or had any particular expertise in, but it's certainly not the extent that it is now. And I think back then it was on a buddy system where it was an honor system. You just trusted the guy to pay you someday until you realized 6-7 years later, wasn't there Mrs. Johnson's case? Wasn't that the one when the whole family was killed and we thought we were going to get a check someday, and it's been 7.5 years? Let's call him up. Oh yeah, we just got the check today.
So is that seriously the process that you would have, Glenn?
It
would be just off of memory, and you'd call the firm and say, whatever happened?
Yeah,
Can I get a follow-up?
Think about it. We used to have everything in a file on a piece of paper our original case tracking was a Rolodex. So everything was in a file, was written down. All right, case sent to, Tom Johnson, whatever. Okay, and then if somebody has the impetus to check on it 7 years later, yeah, that case we sent, that was a great case. Gosh,
wow.
There was no transparency or accountability in the process.
When did you hire your first referral manager? Do you remember?
Less than 10 years ago.
I think that's significant. You've been in practice 35 years. 10 years ago is when you hire your first person to manage that process.
Only
for
all our mass torts. It was really just for tracking mass tort cases.
Yeah. So
and
not
I
even
wanna,
on single event.
I want to double click into that for a moment. Glenn, is that was probably a pretty impactful moment in your firm when your team decided we need someone to manage and supervise the referral processes and systems within our firm. What pains were you feeling, and how did those surface when you ultimately made that decision to make a hire?
Guys were scumbags. They weren't paying me. Let's be honest.
Pretty black and white.
I built their practice. I had guys I had built their practice with some of these referrals, and then when you try to get paid, they're out of business. They took off to Paraguay, And so I think for me, I started seeing the writing on the wall. I wanted absolute transparency and accountability. Obviously, it was quite fortuitous meeting with Gabriel less than 3 years ago and seeing what he was offering. It changed the course of the referral business. I think if you don't let somebody be their worst self, I think you're going to be in you're going to be in a position to be successful. This platform allows transparency and accountability, but also it allows you to minimize the number of people in your referral practice because you're just pressing a button now Instead of having, 10 girls in a phone room speaking to 10 guys in this other guy's phone room, what's happening in this case? Leave a voicemail. 2 weeks later, they call you back. This is what's happening in the case. Voicemail. You're never getting real-time data, and you have all these employees. Now, on the press of a button, I can get the information, but I have people in my office that handle it. But you have real-time access to data and accountability and transparency, and you know when the case is paid. Man, that's awesome.
So I think we've really run over the lay of the land in terms of the market and why this is so important. Gabe, maybe you can help us understand the ideas of how you decided to found Lexamica. Where were you in the moment where you thought, I need to build something to solve this problem for law firms?
You're kind of setting me up now, because 4 years ago at Filevine, I'll step back further and say that I ran a law firm for 3.5 years. I'm not a lawyer. I was a CFO, technology, HR, all of the processes and systems for a law firm. And we were working referrals on behalf of, we were an employment firm, so we were working referrals on behalf of personal injury firms all over the country. And the week that I showed, this is 2019, the week that I showed up, we got a faxed report saying of a printout from Needles. So thank God that people are moving to Filevine, because we were getting faxed reports from Needles saying, here's all of the referrals that we sent you, what's the status? Please print this out, fill it out by hand, and then fax it back to us. And so that was my first indication that something was really wrong, was it's 2019 and I'm getting these like crazy printout reports. So we were doing this and starting to solve for a lot of internal operational issues, and I didn't really know what was happening in legal tech, and then came to the Filevine conference and saw that there was a fast-growing industry around bringing plaintiff-side law firms, injury firms into the modern software tech stack. And so it was a combination of experiencing the problem in-house, trying to create solutions for it, and then realizing, okay, the industry is actually moving in a really great direction. Filevine's in the cloud, there's an API, that's amazing. If law firms are moving to this, the future isn't let's go build like a tool to figure this out. Let's go build something that integrates into all of these law firms that are moving to Filevine so that we can help everyone communicate more effectively. That's not something that y'all were gonna do. I had conversations with your team about it and learned, okay, well, maybe that's something that we can solve for. So that was really the inception of the journey. And we started working on the product in the background in the law firm, and then met Glen, and we realized, okay, this is the time to make it much bigger. Let's go solve this problem for the entire industry.
Time out for a quick plug. Lex Summit is where true inspiration occurs, as
100%,
evidenced by Gabe.
100%.
And the thought of Lexamica, no, just kidding. But we'll see everyone in San Diego, Lex Summit 2026. All right, so you had this idea.
Yeah.
How did things start unrolling to actually a true technology, and how did you get your first couple of customers, and what were some of the early results and learnings from the first 5 firms using Lexamica?
Yeah. So very early on, we were actually almost exactly 2 years from the day we launched officially. We launched October 2, 2023. So we are 1 day away from that now. Early customers, we just got really close to them and started to hear, because we knew from our side, like what the problems were with receiving referrals and wanting to be a firm that's transparent and sending the updates back. I didn't know as much about law firms that were referring cases out. So working with early customers like Lerner and Rowe, who had a team of people who were responsible for trying to go hunt down updates and figuring out, like a lot of the early stuff was ingesting their documentation. So a lot of firms have like a Word doc or a sticky notes of here's all of our referral partners and here's who gets what when. And I literally, like Glen's team sent me a 50-page Word doc of here's all of the law firms that we send cases to in each place. Now we have a rules engine that you put all of your law firm partners in, and it pushes everything out magically via an integration. I got a Word doc, like they were working off of this thing, and then if they wanted to change a law firm partner, everyone had to get a new version of the Word doc, and there were 5 different versions of it. But it's like that was best, like that was it. You couldn't do anything other than that. And then so that was Glen and his team, which had operationalized it. And then we had this other really cool customer that gave us a sandbox to play in. He's a YouTuber, and he had about 2 million subscribers then. He has about 5 million now. And he built a just pure referral practice. And we got to work with him literally to build that out from day one. So we had 2 customers that really represented legacy big operations, and then also what I view as like the future, these law firms like Top Dog and Legal Eagle, who are building referral shops that have that's it. Like, it's a co-counsel platform. And so starting to work with them at the same time, you learn both like what happens when we start with a blank sheet of paper and what happens when you deal with a firm that has the operations. And today we're supporting dozens and hundreds of both of those types of firms. But early days, it was just getting really close with them.
So Glenn, you meet Gabe. I want to zoom into that just for a moment. And what was the thing that got you most excited when Gabe explained the technology? And then you, as being a practicing attorney for over 30 years, what made you nervous? Was there any hesitancy when you heard about the Lexamica referral technology?
No hesitancy at all. For years, I knew that we needed to have something like this in this space, but it wasn't there. And myself, I was actually trying to create something like that, but as I told you before we started, I can't turn on a VCR. And the fact that I'm talking about the VCR lets you know how behind the times I am. But when I heard Gabriel talk and he showed me what he was doing, I realized I had, in some respects, had seen the future of where the referral practice and a lot of the practice of law was going. Because this isn't just about referrals, it's about connecting law firms and relationships. And, I don't have many skill sets, but the one skill set I've always had is that relationship building. And I saw this as being something that could almost go side by side with my particular skill set in helping to build relationships and helping to make firms a better version of themselves. You have to understand one thing. This business model has evolved so much over the last 30 years. I mean, we're living in a space where, 30, 35 years ago, guys are saying, hey, we're getting 5 times meds. And this, it keeps evolving. Now you're down to 3 times meds. Then it goes and you're fighting with the insurance companies to get meds plus a little bit. The world's evolving. We live on a big blue marble that's always moving. And if you're not moving with it, you're going to get left behind. We can see what's happening. AI is coming into the space. It's changing how we operate. Case cost acquisition prices have gone up anywhere from 200 to 400%. Look at my market, my main market, Arizona, where we have probably 2/3 of our employees. We have had easily $1 billion plus in lead gen come into the market. That's cut our business. I'm not ashamed to say my volume has gone down, but I make twice as much money as I used to make because I've adapted how I do business. We get more money per case. We don't waste time on cases that don't have the value. You just have to adapt and evolve or you become extinct. And I say the same thing every time I speak. You have to be willing to change, and like I was saying a little earlier, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You have to be willing to learn and change and adapt to some of this technology. And I think this was the last frontier in the legal space, was the opportunity not to exploit, but to maximize the value of referrals and to do so in a way that, one, keeps partnerships growing and keeps them vibrant, alive, and further opportunities between firms, but also creates transparency and accountability. That's a very important thing. In the beginning, when I was helping them try to push this with a lot of bigger law firms around the country, I had some of the bigger guys in the country. I'd call them up, hey, we got this is going to be great for you, blah, blah, blah. And guys would say, I don't want this on my platform. A lot of the attorneys on my software are going to think, well, I don't want people seeing what we're doing. And I'm like, guy, if people don't want someone seeing what they're doing, they should not be on your platform. It's about accountability and transparency. If a lawyer doesn't want to be accountable and transparent with you, be gone.
That's a really interesting concept that I would love both your thoughts on this. You've mentioned now a few times, Glenn, that Lexamica helps provide 2 things, transparency and accountability. And I think for most of us, transparency, easy. Get me reporting, get me dashboards, both parties can see and go back and forth. There's auto updates that are almost instantaneous. Talk to me a little bit about the accountability. How does Lexamica help you hold others accountable from a technology standpoint and from a relationship standpoint? I would love both your thoughts.
Yeah, one thing that I love about you, Glenn, is that you always stay focused on the core thing. I get really distracted by the different piece of technology and whatever, but that is really at the core, what we started off doing and what we'll be doing 10 years from now is those 2 things. Everything else is just in service of those 2, transparency and accountability. The accountability piece is absolutely critical, and something that Lexamica does is not afraid to say is we fire law firms from our platform. If they're not performing well, if they're not making updates, if they are doing anything that's unethical, and we have a really, really significant framework for governance over the roles and responsibilities for how both parties to the co-counsel agreement have to perform. If you're not meeting those on our platform, you're gone.
Really?
Yeah.
So they get kicked out?
Forever. Yeah. We'll kick law firms off, and we have. Not frequently, thankfully, but
Many people think of him as the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. No referrals for you.
Because that's the only way. And, it's funny. I view all of human nature as the same thing, but like it's the same thing as like if you have a classroom of kids, like if kids are misbehaving, the way to get everyone to behave, send a couple kids to the principal's office, right? Like people know that you're serious. You don't have to set that many examples before people know that you're serious. They know what the rules of the game are, and then they're going to play them well. But they have to know that the rules are there and that they're going to be enforced. So we're really clear on the front end. Like you have to make your updates. You have to upload a copy of the retainer. You have to, if we're asking you for SOL or minimum case values, you're going to have to put that in. And if you get behind, like you're out. And what that does is two things. One, it weeds out the bad actors, right? Because they don't want to be on the field if they know that they're not going to be able to play their shady games. And then on the other hand, it lets everyone else be free to do better work because like, cool, like everyone else in the room now, they share the same values as me. And so we end up with better performance. And we have standards for compliance for what data you have to put in. And when you have to put in, we have 99% compliance with that.
By doing so, though, one of the things that is getting created is a legal ecosystem where you can go. It's not just having referrals, but now the ability to find attorneys to handle certain types of cases, people that have already been vetted, people you can trust. I mean, I don't know anybody in New Hampshire. I mean, there are certain states that we've never really built relationships with. I think when we gave you our original list, we had maybe 42 states in the country where we had rock solid relationships, friendships. But there's certain states, New Hampshire. I did have someone in Maine, though. But New Hampshire, a couple of Vermont. You have certain places that we just don't. There's a big empty space. And so for attorneys around the country that don't already have relationships, they can come onto the platform and say, hey, I need a good PI attorney or good real estate attorney or whatever they're looking for in Nebraska. And hey, here's a guy who's been vetted. He's responsible, he's reporting, and he does good work in these, and you can actually see how he's been doing. And that's a wonderful opportunity for people to build new relationships, but also feel confident that the case is going to be handled well. Because don't forget, these are co-counsel agreements. It's not like you can just hand off a case and get paid. You are on the hook for a case.
Yeah, because, and it varies by jurisdiction, by state, and it's split, but our best practice on the platform is, yes, you're assuming joint responsibility for the case because you in many states, that is the law, that you have to maintain joint assumption responsibility. And I think it's something that a lot of lawyers strangely miss. Like, lawyers care about ethics. Like, that is something that I've learned. Like, they really, really do. And somehow there's this glossing over of, yeah, I'll refer a case and you'll pay me back. Without this, they don't remember that, like, they have to treat that case the same way that they would treat it if it was inside of their law firm being worked by one of their attorneys.
Their own.
And so many lawyers, though, they have this double standard where they send a case out to their co-counsel, and that co-counsel treats the case in a way that they would have fired their whole internal team. Mm-hmm. If one of their lawyers in-house treated a case the way their co-counsel did, they would have fired them immediately. But because it's out of mind. Even though the ethical responsibility is exactly the same.
We had a guy in Illinois, we were sending him some smaller cases, maybe $10,000, $15,000 value cases, and he ended up stealing all the money.
Really?
Yeah, he probably stole $1 million from various clients. Maybe 100,000 of it or so was ours. Guess who was writing a check for the 100,000? Me. I'm on the hook. It is what it is.
So now finally, there's a window that gives you immediate updates. That's all tracked.
Yes, absolutely. Look, one of the things, and I'll plug Filevine in this, is like Filevine is great because your API will webhook everything to us in real time as it happens in Filevine. And like that's how that's the real vision here is great technology running the firm operationally inside that integrates to us. So our Filevine users are the ones who we get the best real-time intelligence. We don't even have to pull your system. It pushes all that data directly to Lexamica and then shares that with co-counsel the way that you want it shared. Obviously, you have control over how the data is shared to your co-counsel. You don't want all your work product in. You don't want, here's the note, client was super angry, my paralegal yelled at him, then we had to fire the paralegal. Like you want to control what data is shared to your co-counsel, but the beautiful thing about the Filevine and the lead document integrations is it truly is real time. Literally, the moment it happens in Filevine, it's in Lexamica shared with your co-counsel.
How much did Ryan and Nathan pay you for that plug?
Nathan's an Arkansas boy like me. They don't have to pay me anything.
Well, I was going to say, what's interesting is as you talk about transparency and accountability, that's the exact same thing from a values and principle standpoint that Filevine's based off of. You have users that are using a singular technology, so now as a law firm owner, every user managing cases and projects, not necessarily referrals, right? That's where Lexamica comes in and ties in from a technology standpoint, but we have the exact same values. Every user, if it's not in Filevine, it doesn't exist. It didn't happen. So put your data, put your documents, put your notes in Filevine for the exact same reason.
And that's something that I think so many people miss when they're coming to Lexamica. They go, oh, can you magically make us get updates from our co-counsel in real time? I'm like, well, no, actually no. Because like you said, you're training law firms, Filevine's training law firms on how to put data in well, how to be transparent internally. That then flows out to your co-counsel partners. It's garbage in, garbage out, or you're not putting anything in, you're not getting anything out. There are law firms that, we have to go hunt down the updates, or they're putting them directly in Lexamica. I would much rather be able to tap into your Filevine account, pull the data that we need, you're putting it in one place for every purpose, and then that makes a much better experience. So we need you training law firms on how to put data in, because like you said, if you don't put the data in, it doesn't exist, and that's a huge problem.
So as you look at the future, from a technology and Lexamica standpoint, what gets you most excited? And then same question to you, Glenn. As you look at your firm plus technology, I'm interested, what gets you to most excited for the next 24 months?
I mean, the rate of change has continued to increase with technology, and I'm just really excited about when we're talking about this almost every day now, but AI, what is that doing for law firms? How is can it replace people? I will say yes. Like, I'm a realist. Like, yeah, if you want to go and you want to slash your workforce in your firm, you can do that now if that's what you want. But also, I like to see the best law firms, I think, are the ones who are saying, we're not going to replace our people. We're going to make them more effective. And we're going to figure out how to use this as an opportunity to grow in ways that people have never been able to in the past. One paralegal now can do more work more efficiently, and they're doing better work than they were before. Using AI to summarize your documents, you're starting drafts of demands at 80%, where 3 years ago you had to start it from scratch or from a template. And voice AI is coming fast. This year, next year, voice AI is already starting to take your overflow calls, make sure that you never miss a call when it comes in. One of the things I was talking about this yesterday with someone is, we talk a lot about how voice AI is going to work on intake. The bar is really high for that, but law firms are using voice AI now to go and get their medical records from medical providers, to follow up with insurance companies to make sure they've received the demand, right? There's very great operational ways to use voice AI to run your operations better, even before you're going client-facing with it. So I just think we're going to see more and better applications of AI. Obviously, you can do that in Filevine. There's add-ons as well, but that ability to bring AI into your firm is huge. That's, I think, what I'm most excited about seeing, because it makes law firms better. It's a better experience for the client, and it's better outcomes.
Interesting. Glenn?
It's changed so much. It's almost crazy how much this business model is changing. It's almost the speed of light in terms of acquisition, in terms of operations. This continuous need to evolve as a businessman and to find every opportunity, every new type of software. I think this is kind of what the impetus for a software like Lexamica. Any softwares that are going to make you more efficient and able to compete in this, it's just the playing field has changed. The way we do business has changed. And we're going to see, I've been a big proponent of, consolidation is coming to this industry. There's only so many cases remaining. You have lead gen that's come in as just, we have one of the biggest brands in the United States. No one cares about my brand anymore. You get people go online, they forget about all my little catchy commercials and my jingles and this big smile, and they go, just click a button, because that's what they're trained to do in society now. Just go online. I should have called Lerner and Rowe. Well, too late. You already hired this schmo that you never even heard of. That was some lead gen that sent you to an attorney. His own mother doesn't even know he exists. Oh, but that's what happens. That's what happens. People just press that button now. In my market,
click or swipe.
Think about Arizona, where you've had well over $1 billion come in with lead gen because of the ABS. I think that's what we're going to see happening around the country. So the smaller players are just, we had a perfect example. We had one of our former employees who's a wonderful guy. He's been practicing for a long, long time, very smart lawyer. Went off on his own, and I never begrudge anybody going off on their own. I always want to see people try to be the best they can be. As long as they don't go work for a competitor, you can always come back. We had lunch with him last week. He said, I can see the writing on the wall. The cases are drying up. He said, I'd rather just be part of my old family. Just, I know I won't make exactly what I was making on my own, but there's security in that. And you can see it. It's happening. And it's happening quicker and quicker. And just for everybody out there, I still haven't used AI. I am still a firm believer that AI is Allen Iverson. I will not give up on believing that. Any of you that are out there that don't know, AI was always Allen Iverson, the famous basketball player. That's how we always heard it in society. You know that, right?
I do. Okay, well, one final question for Gabe and Glenn here, and I'll start with you, Glenn. As a Lexamica customer and a Filevine customer, we have a lot of people here at Lex Summit that are Filevine customers, but not yet Lexamica customers. What would you tell them?
Certainly, what we've been saying right now is the practice keeps evolving and changing. You want to utilize every opportunity to maximize revenue, maximize relationships. You can't rely upon the things you used to rely upon, so you have to look for new ways to optimize your practice and be better. And I think this software absolutely is going to give you the opportunity to form new relationships and bonds, but more importantly, find a new stream of revenue that you kind of took for granted before. You never seriously considered how much referrals can augment your bottom line, because you got to get streamlined now. And I think so finding this additional revenue stream and the opportunity to receive referrals as well is going to open up new possibilities for firms.
Thank you. And Gabe, final question for you is, let's actually go to the same question. You've talked to a lot of Filevine customers over the years. What would you say? What's kind of the closing statement from the founder of Lexamica to the Filevine customer base?
There is a huge alignment between the Filevine customer base and the people that get the most value out of Lexamica on multiple levels.
Interesting.
The vision for technology, Filevine, you're always pushing how do you use technology to make your law firm better. Obviously, there's a crossover there with Lexamica, but we've just found that the operational ethos, the marketing ethos, the drive to create a better and more productive law firm is deeply aligned between Filevine and Lexamica. And we've seen that. I just got in this morning, but my team's been sending me messages all week about how much traffic has been hitting the Lexamica booth here at the Filevine conference. And there's conferences we go to where we don't get that much foot traffic. But this conference has the most engaged audience that I have seen at any conference that we've been to, hands down. And so it's already proven itself to be true, but I really think it's because the people that come here to Lex Summit, the people that use Filevine, they want to use technology to make their law firm better, and that's really what we are.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
I think one of the things we've noticed as we speak to firms around the country, a lot of the older firms are set in their ways. It's not worth learning how to do this. It's not worth it. I'm making enough. I'm doing well enough. I'm riding off into the sunset soon. But, a conference like this where you have a lot of young people, a lot of firms that are really engaged with technology, they see the benefit, see what it can do in terms of augmenting their practice, building bridges and relationships with other firms, because they realize, especially a lot of the smaller firms and mid-sized firms, man, every case counts. The days of just endless cases are gone. Lead gen's cut into that. It's competition for cases. So how can we be better? And I think that's one of the things you have there. A lot of people walking around looking to improve, looking to evolve. And that's an exciting thing. And it's amazing, that Filevine has been able to create that and to actually capture that with their members and the people that are using the platform. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting. And I think being here at Lex Summit, you can feel it. You can feel the energy. And I think we tend to attract law firms that lean in to technology and learning new ways of doing things to transform and keep up with the times and transform their business forward. So, well, that is it for today's podcast. My name is Erik Bermudez. As the VP of Partnerships here at Filevine, I can vouch that Lexamica is a wonderful, great partner. I invite every Filevine customer to learn about Lexamica. How do they get in touch with the Lexamica team, Gabe?
Really easy, lexamica.com, or if you're here at Lex Summit, stop by our booth. We'd love to talk to you.
Thank you for the insights, Glenn, and thank you, Gabe, for the insights shared today. That's today's podcast, Managing and Maximizing Your Referrals with Lexamica. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks, Erik.